Don't confuse a cash dividend paid to stockholders with a stock dividend. On March 27, 2013, Core Wafer Industries announced that it was giving its existing shareholders 1 extra share for every 20 shares they currently held. That may sound like a good deal, but you have to remember the old pizza joke. A foolish person, usually an economist, orders a pizza. The server asks him if he wants it cut into 6 pieces or 8 pieces. "Make it 8, says the economist. "I'm really hungry." A stock dividend does the same thing. It doesn't change the size or value of the company. Instead of owning 20 shares worth, say, $21 each, you own 21 shares worth $20 each. If the exchange ratio is big enough, say 2 for 1, then it's called a stock split rather than a stock dividend. The idea is the same. You own more pieces of the firm, but they're smaller. Ownership offers more than just a residual claim on assets. Ownership conveys control. As long as the stockholders meet the terms of the debt contracts, they decide what to do. For example, suppose that Lisa didn't want you to let Carl buy a quarter of your shares. That's just too bad for Lisa the lender. She's a bondholder, not a stockholder, so she doesn't get to decide things like that. The same goes for personnel decisions. If Lisa wants you to hire her buddy Chris, the most she can do is give you her opinion. As a stockholder, it's your call. Notice that being a part owner reduces your decision-making power, but you can keep control so long as you can't be outvoted. Remember Carl? He owns a quarter of the company. You own 3/4. This means that you can outvote him every time. Even though he's an owner, in this case, he doesn't have any more authority to make decisions than a creditor like Lisa. You have the controlling interest in Multimower. But if Carl acquired 51% of Multimower, then he would call the shots, not you. I hope you agree that it helps to think of a corporation as a bag of goodies and stocks and bonds as the sharing rule that says who gets those goodies. Legally, of course, it's not that simple. Legally, corporations are entities created by or under the authority of law with rights and responsibilities that are distinct from the shareholders. They also have a continuous existence independent of their specific members. Think of a football team like the 6-time Super Bowl champion Pittsburgh Steelers. The first of those 6 wins came in January of 1975. The most recent was in February 2009. That's almost 35 years later. Not a single player was on both teams, and most of the players on the 2009 team hadn't even been born in 1975. But they are still the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's the same for Apple Incorporated. Apple was incorporated on January 3rd, 1977. Since then, Apple has turned over thousands of employees and owners. It's still Apple, though. Apple is still Apple, regardless of who owns it. It has a continuous existence independent of its specific owners. Another way to structure a company is a sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is a one-person business that hasn't incorporated. It's the simplest form of business organization imaginable. For example, suppose that you're a high school music teacher who makes a few $1,000s a year giving piano lessons on the side. You aren't going to give up your day job and don't expect to make a lot of money on the side, so you've never paid much attention to incorporating. Students show up, you teach them, they pay you. You're a sole proprietor. Sole proprietorships and corporations have their differences, and the biggest of those is limited liability. Corporations have limited liability, and sole proprietorships don't. This can mean a lot if the business goes bad. If your friend Carl borrows money to buy a piano for his music lessons and later can't pay his debt, then the lender can sue for just about all of Carl's assets up to the amount of the debt. If instead Carl starts Carl's Music Shop, Incorporated, then if he can't pay his debt, then the most he can lose is the company. The lender can't come after his car and savings. The corporation Carl founded has limited liability. The idea